You're listening to 15 Minutes, where we feature community leaders sharing what the rest of us should know but likely don't. Hi, Chad Franzen here, one of the hosts of Share Your Voice, where we talk with top-notch law firms and lawyers about what it takes to grow a successful law practice. This episode is brought to you by Gladiator Law Marketing, delivering tailor-made services to help you accomplish your objectives and maximize your growth potential. To have a successful marketing campaign and make sure you're getting the best ROI, your firm needs to have a better website and better content. Gladiator Law Marketing uses artificial intelligence, machine learning, and decades of experience to outperform the competition. To learn more, go to gladiatorlawmarketing.com, where you can schedule a free marketing consultation. My guest today is James W. Lea III, who serves as managing partner at the Schultz Law Firm. He's a seasoned attorney with over 40 years of experience, specializing in family law. Throughout his career, Mr. Lea has been deeply involved in shaping family law policy in North Carolina. He's served on influential committees within the North Carolina Bar Association, including the Family Council and the Committee on Mediation and Arbitration. Recognized as preeminent by Martindale-Hubbell since 1996, Mr. Lea's experience extends to landmark cases that have significantly impacted family law in North Carolina. Notably, he has been involved in 15 out of 100 cases deemed most important by the North Carolina Bar Association, which demonstrates his influential role in shaping legal precedents. He's also known for his philanthropic efforts, including the establishment of a scholarship at Cape Fear Community College. In addition to his professional and community commitments, Mr. Lea enjoys staying active through his passion for tennis, where he recently achieved success as the winner of the USTA Over 55 State Championship. It's great to talk to you today. How are you?
Good, Chad. How are you?
Great. Thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Hey,
No problem.
First question for you. How, and if you can think back, how and when did you know that you wanted to become an attorney?
Boy, that's a tough question. I'd say I didn't until I got out of law school. I was sort of by default. It's not something I ever just envisioned I would do, but I got sort of desperate and went to law school after getting a psychology degree from North Carolina, working in a year and figured out I needed to do something. So by the time I got to my third year, I realized that this was the right place for me. So it was not a lifetime goal. It did become one.
Wow. So has the psychology degree helped you at all in the course of the legal field?
Yeah, tremendously, because many of the people that come in here, either on my side of the table or the other side, are dealing with psychological problems. I've written a book it's going to be published, called The Humane Divorce. And I talk about this aspect of it in this book, because most people are depressed when they come in. Obviously, there's a lot of anxiety disorders that come in. And then we get down to some people are bipolar. Narcissism is off the charts these days, or being brought up as an issue in a case. Sociopathy. It's just good to have that kind of background in addition to my business background when I'm dealing with divorces. So I can sort of spot where there are issues that are mental health issues in the case pretty readily.
So the book is called The Humane Divorce. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? What inspired the book, and what are some of the maybe key takeaways?
Well, the book is more of a sort of a guide through the process. A lot of books are written about this is the law, this is this is that. But I decided to write about, and I'm doing it in conjunction with a business appraiser that I work with, because we do a lot of high-end divorces and custody and things like that, but we deal with the valuation of closely held corporations. So the book is basically a guide that you're going through a divorce to pick up and read to help you through the process. There's chapters about how to choose a divorce lawyer, how to be a good client, what the judges are like behind the scenes, what the courthouse is like behind the scenes. I talk a little bit quite a bit about the legal part of it, because laws are different state to state, but it's basically a how-to book. About everybody that's picked it up and read it, it said, wow, I didn't know this, or wow, I didn't know that. And they know more about what they're dealing with as they go through the divorce process. So it's a guide more than anything else.
I know you are happily married. is it how difficult is it to kind of separate your I mean, I'm sure in some respects, like the concept of divorce may be heartbreaking to somebody who's happily married. How difficult is it to kind of separate maybe the emotion of the divorce and helping your clients?
Well, here's the unique thing about my situation, because my prologue starts with a divorce lawyer as a chapter.
Hmm.
So I was married for 33 years, and my ex-wife, and I went through a separation, and I've been through the process myself. I met my second wife, and not hopefully, my last wife,
Mm-hmm.
about 2 years after my wife and I separated. My first wife and I separated, and we've been together ever since we met for the last 10 years. So I've been through both. I've been there with a happy marriage, and I've been there with a happy marriage at the beginning and turned into an unhappy marriage for both of us. And I know I went through the process myself, and I think both she and I talked about my ex-wife and I probably handled it pretty good. I knew the ins and outs. I called up my divorce lawyer and I said, "Don't call me till I call you, because I know you're going to bill the hell out of it." I said, "Here's your retainer. I'll get in touch with you when I need you." So I have a unique perspective on everything.
Yeah, it sounds like it. What inspired you to specialize in family law and devote 4 decades to the field?
Well, when I first started, I went and worked for the Attorney General's office here in this state for a year, and then that was boring. And I got invited to come down and go into private practice in 1981 with a guy I went to law school with. And as time went on, at the beginning, did everything. I mean, I've tried at least 50 to 100 jury trials. We did murder cases, we did criminal law, we did everything, civil litigation. I still do quite a bit of civil litigation, but I became very comfortable in the courtroom and pretty good in the courtroom. That's why we're in Best Lawyers in America, all the other things you've read about, super lawyers, that kind of stuff. And so over the years, I just sort of started picking up more and more domestic cases, and I educated myself about it primarily by going and taking courses at UNCW in business valuation and learning how to value a business on my own, because I get a lot of clients that come in here that are in small, closely held corporations that happen to be worth a lot of money. They're not traded on the Dow or anything, but they are big companies. So over the years, I just evolved into it. Everything in any part of life is reputation. So obviously, I'm probably hated by half the town, probably hated by half my clients, but I still am a word of mouth. Basically, I don't advertise very much, and just built and built and built. And I'm probably right now, I would say the best known divorce lawyer in southeastern North Carolina. I would say. I hate to sound like I'm bragging because I'm terrible at everything else. Ask my wife, but this is the one thing I can do pretty well.
So, what do you think it is that makes you so effective in the courtroom? Is it your ability to relate to the jury, or to have them to relate with you, or is it your preparedness, your ability to state an argument, all of the above?
All of the above. I mean, preparedness is key. I mean, we tried one on Monday and Tuesday this week. We had 2 notebooks filled with exhibits. Probably I had to introduce about 110 exhibits. I did that 2 hours, and I get to the point. I don't waste time. I'm completely prepared when I walk in there. I'm very, very comfortable in the courtroom, even though I have a thing called GAD, general anxiety disorder. I've had it for my entire life, and you would think it would affect me in the courtroom, but it's exactly the opposite. It's where I go, and it's really my calm space. So I'm able to be prepared, process a lot of information. I can be confrontational if I need to. I can be friendly if I need to. I sort of got a knack for cross-examination, and I've definitely got a knack for standing up, running my mouth in the courtroom, but keeping it to the point. So it's a unique skill set of any trial lawyer. I mean, I'm one of thousands of very good trial lawyers throughout this country, but it is a unique area because Most lawyers do not like to go to court, don't like to be, they just don't. I mean, it's just a lot of anxiety, a lot of pressure, and I thrive under that. And most of the trial lawyers you'll talk to will tell you the same thing.
What have you found to be a key to your success, maybe in connecting with a jury?
Eye-to-eye contact, beginning with very friendly conversation, not alienating them by attacking somebody that doesn't need to be attacked. Just sensing the room, having a friendly relationship with the judge, being, lack of a better word, being a charming Southern guy. And that really works well with juries. I mean, it just does. You got to have a rapport with them. They got to like you. They don't like you, they're not going to like your client. And so the whole thing to me is trying to make a connection with the people that are going to render a verdict, whether it be a judge or a jury.
Sure. Yeah, I could see how the charming Southern guy thing, I could see how that might work for you. I mentioned you are involved in kind of 15 out of 100 landmark family law cases. Obviously, we don't need to have you tell us about all 15 of them or anything, but did you know going into maybe each of those, or that this was going to be like, if you were successful, that this was going to be kind of a big deal?
Yeah, I sort of did, because the Equitable Distribution Act in North Carolina was enacted in 1980. So it was brand new, and I started practicing in domestic law down here in 1981, not forever ago. So every case that came up over my entire career, I've had like 60 appeals, but there were so many cases that were cases of first impression under the statute. And I'm very creative. And if I did not like the way it came out, or I thought I need to make some law in this particular area or whatever, I would appeal the cases and argue it in the Court of Appeals. Probably one of my most well-known cases is called Busman versus Gerald, which is back in 2010. It's taught on all the law schools. It's when gay marriage was not legal in North Carolina, and it was a gay adoption case. You could not adopt unless you were a step-parent, aka married. So I sort of took a landmark case to the Supreme Court of North Carolina all the way up to there to establish the rights of a separated gay couple, the right of Miss Busman in that particular case to have parental rights to her child, even though she had no marital status and was not the biological mother. And that's a pretty big landmark case in this state, really throughout the country at the time. Now that gay marriage is legal, it's not as big a deal as it was back then, but it was back then for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first one. It's obviously pretty historic. Was that are cases like that quite complex, and how do you navigate those complexities?
Yeah, they're complex, but you've got to you delve into the regular. I mean, it's not as complex as a business valuation case, because that's complex. That can really get into expert witnesses and all sorts of things. But I had to sort of take the existing law as it was and apply it to this particular situation where nobody had any rights. It was a birth mother that was basically saying, I birthed this child. The adoption we tried to do is actually illegal, and at the time it was. You have no rights. I'm not going to let you ever see your child again. So that takes some creativity. And I'll never forget the first time we were in the courtroom at the trial level, it was jammed. It was jammed at the Supreme Court and Court of Appeals level. Everybody took a side in this case. You had the right wing, the left wing. I'm sort of moderate myself. But it was jammed at the very beginning. We had Lambda, the Civil Rights Union, on one side, and conservative groups on the other side, and I got up and argued for it. They were asking my client whether or not she wanted a female attorney from Atlanta, somebody schooled in, and our judge schooled in those kind of cases. And after I made my argument, everybody sort of sat down and shut up, so to speak, because I went out of the courtroom. She said, I'm not going anywhere but right here. And I turned to them and I said, who else do you want arguing for gay rights than a white, heterosexual, Southern male in the South? besides me.
Very nice. Perfect. Perfect. Hey, I'm sure a lot of these cases, like that one, I'm sure in family law, they're kind of filled with maybe highly charged emotions or high value assets, things like that. How do you kind of balance all that stuff, the legal and emotional aspects of handling those cases?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you're talking about how I handle it. I'm pretty calm. I've gotten over the years, just with experience, that helps a lot, having
Hmm.
learned a lot. I mean, I'm 69 at this point, and I don't have any plans to stop until maybe 10 years from now, whatever. We'll see. I still enjoy it. As long as I enjoy it and I'm doing well at it, I'll keep doing it. But number one, I've got to stay calm throughout this process, because if I don't, my clients don't. And I've got to calm them down, because if they get too excitable or they get to start doing stupid things like texting nasty things back and forth and emailing, they do it all the time. I got to say, you got to stop doing this. I tell them the truth from the very beginning. And I may sound like I'm a tough taskmaster. I'm not really. I get along with most of my clients. Some I don't. Some you just can't get along with. Um, but by and large, I communicate with them. They have my cell phone number, which is sort of rare for a divorce attorney. They can call me all the time, which they do. I pick it up. I work on Sundays. I talk to them on the weekend. It just happened to be an area law. You cannot just walk away from it completely, even on vacation, and let it all go, because there's always somebody there with a crisis. So a big part of my job is not only being honest with them about the law, but keeping them calm, cool, and collected through the process, which doesn't always work, but I try.
When somebody calls you and asks you to serve as their divorce attorney, and you agree to serve them in that capacity, what's kind of your goal, I guess, going into that kind of case? Is it to get the most for the client, or something else?
Well, my goal is number one, and I talk about this in the book, is to get them through the process with their sanity.
Mm.
I start the prelude to my book by saying divorce is a stunning and painful process. I thought stunning was a good word for it, because it really is. Besides having somebody die, when you walk in, if you, especially a long-term marriage, when you're in that state, everybody will tell you it's the worst part of your life. So number one, my goal is not to end up in court, even though I end up in court a lot. But I don't want that for my clients. So it's usually somebody is being too stubborn and you got to go to court, or they're just crazy. And so my goal is to keep them out of court, get prepared, get them through the process, get them to mediation, see if I can get it settled there. I'm always open to trying to resolve things. It's not about gouging the other side. They may think it is, but in this state, it's a 50-50 split of your assets. So it shouldn't be as complicated as a lot of people make it. A lot of young attorneys now don't really understand business valuation. They get numbers they don't really know about. You gotta really know a lot about, brokerage accounts and stocks and bonds and stock options. I tried a case that went to the Supreme Court on the valuation of stock options. It gets complicated, but my goal is to try to get something that everybody can. You're not going to be completely happy, but you can be content with, that you can move on with your life.
You've obviously had some landmark cases that you've been successful in. Can you share another, maybe one of your more memorable success experience in your legal career? It doesn't even have to be a landmark case, just something that, like, oh yeah, this comes to my mind every time somebody asks me about this.
I can share with you something funny, I guess.
Okay.
Behind the scenes, I'm not going to name the case. Figured out what, but it ended up being a landmark case. I thought it was landmark because of the business valuation part of it, but it ended up being landmark because of the sex part of it. So I was in court getting ready to try a case. I overheard another attorney who had sort of a big mouth in town. I liked him, but he was talking about, my client was the man and the other client was a woman, talked about her possibly having an affair because another one of my ex-clients had showed up on the front porch, sort of beat up by his wife. I realized he was talking about my case. I went over and asked him who it was. I also knew who she was having the affair with. So when I was in the trial, I asked her that essentially whether or not she cheated on her husband. And she was so shocked to hear it, she admitted it. And then the other attorney went crazy. Case was recessed. Make a long story short, we came back. She denied it. I had to subpoena my ex-client back into court. I knew a lot about his characteristics. He was a ladies' man, to say the least. So I had to go painstakingly through 2 episodes, one in a golf cart and one in a pool.
Oh boy.
And we got down to the pool episode, and it's all written out in this. It's sort of embarrassing. It's all out in this legal opinion. I mean, it's a big case, and everybody reads it, and they teach it in law school. This is how you prove somebody had sex. Because I'm asking the questions, I finally got to the part of penetration, and he sort of denied it. He said the water was cold, and I won't name his name, but I'll just make up a name. I said, John, when have you ever been that close and not been able to penetrate somebody? And he said, okay, I did. So that was, it's humorous, but it's embarrassing. But one of those kind of, I had to call out my own ex-client. He was mad at me for a little while, but then he got over it. So
that's quite a story. Hey,
yeah.
What I mentioned that you established a scholarship at Cape Fear Community College. How did that come about? What impact do you hope that it will have?
Well, a long time ago, I did everything in this town. I was on the board of trustees at the community college. I was on Residents of Old Wilmington board. I raised money for the YMCA, chairman of the Democratic Party. I mean, all sorts of things. So at that point, when I was on the trustees, I was just seeing really how good the college was. I mean, it was just a great school. People that weren't going straight into academics, maybe there are all sorts of fields you can learn, trades, and I just thought it was a great, great thing. And so I set up a scholarship so that each semester, and it grows in value of the year. It's just a very valuable scholarship now. But one student can come in, I pay for their tuition and books basically out of the scholarship for a year. And I get the nicest notes from somebody every single year, which mean the world to me. I love that. That they have gotten out, they're going to do this, they're going to graduate and go do this and that. Some I've stayed in touch with over the years. So that means a lot to me. That's probably my biggest accomplishment, I would say.
Yeah, that's awesome. You, I mentioned you're also successful in tennis. How do you kind of manage to stay active and balance your, a pretty prolific legal career with your interests outside of work, such as tennis?
Well, I've played tennis since I was a child. It's just something I've learned. I'm not that great at it. I started out as a 4-5. The state championship they're talking about is in the USTA league, and was a doubles group. But I play tennis. It's my salvation. I get that. We play every Saturday morning. I'm on a 40 and older team this year. My captain just contacted me. We play matches throughout the year. It's just that I just love it. It's out there. I can't do the things I used to do. I was a big football player, and then I played rugby at Carolina, and through about 5 years after that was pretty good at rugby. But, it sort of hurts when you get in your 60s and you're running around. You can't do those kind of things. So I'm lucky to have enough skill to get out there on the tennis court and have a good time, which I'm going to do tonight.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. What's your primary strength? Your serve, your backhand, your return?
My serve and my backhand.
Okay.
There you go.
Great. I have one more question for you, but first, just tell me how people can find out more information about you and about Lea Schultz Law Firm.
Okay, we're on the internet, all over the internet. You can look up our website, Lea Schultz, and it's LEA/SCHULTZ. You'll see a bevy of stuff, and you'll see some negative stuff too. We got involved in a case a couple of years ago, not a couple of years ago, about 10 years ago. The guy on the other side went nuts and just went after us. I mean, every way, shape, or form. putting up a fake Facebook site and stuff like that. So there's stuff out there that you'll see. You got to look at the big picture. I tell everybody in this book to look for that rating in Martindale-Hubbell. It does make a difference, and you don't have to be A. That's 5% of the attorneys in the country are A rated. But if you're a B rated or even C rated and you're a younger lawyer, that's okay. You probably have got a pretty good lawyer. So you do need to look at some of these publications. They do mean something. Martindale-Hubbell means something. Best Lawyers mean something. Silly name, but super lawyers mean something because you're getting voted on by your peers and the judges. And so that's the biggest honor you can get, really. I mean, when they're acknowledging that, hey, this guy's or this woman is pretty good at what they do. So besides that, I mean, we're booming. And besides that, we just word of mouth. I've been around the city so long. So just somebody will tell somebody. That's the thing about practicing law. If you're good at it and you do a good job for somebody, they'll go tell somebody else. So I have people coming here all the time saying, I heard this, I heard that, I heard that. And as you get older, it gets a little bit better and more respectful than it was a long time ago.
Yeah, sure, I bet. Hey, okay, last question for you.
Sure.
If you knew a kind of a young aspiring family lawyer who wanted to make a positive impact in the field, what advice would you offer that person?
Number one, ask questions of the experienced attorneys around you. Do not think you know everything. Just go in there and listen. And I did it all the time. I would walk up to experienced domestic attorneys and ask them a question. So do that. Don't be so arrogant that you think you know everything, because you don't. Number two, establish relationships with the judges, the clerks, the bailiffs, everybody down at the courthouse. Be friendly to them. Do not be aloof. I know I can walk in the courthouse and know the names of our bailiffs by their first name, the clerks by their first name. I talk with them. I know the judges very well. I just know. So form relationships. That's number two. Number three, never, ever do anything that try to screw the attorney on the other side. I'll even warn attorneys, which you can do ethically now, when they're getting ready to miss a deadline or they're getting ready to do that, this or that, or maybe make a bad mistake. I'll warn them about it. I'll go and say, listen, you're getting ready to do this. You need to do this. And I've always been that way. I've never defaulted anybody or done anything like that. Attorneys may say, oh my God, I can't believe. But sooner or later, it's going to be you that makes the mistake. And you're going to want a little grace coming back your way too. So, I've made a bunch of mistakes in my career, and I'm glad that I had the ability to say, hey, remember when I did this for you? So that's important. So those relationships. And finally, treat your clients with as much respect as you can until they disrespect you, and then you got to cut it off. So many attorneys stay on, especially in domestic law, and just get abused by a particular person, which are usually mentally ill, I would say. And they just hang in there because they're scared of getting fired. Don't be scared of getting fired. Don't be scared to fire anybody. It's okay. The world's not going to end. Somebody will come into your door tomorrow. Person may go on the internet and talk all about you. Most people don't listen to it. So you got to be brave and courageous through this process. So that's my advice.
Yeah, that is great advice. I was particularly intrigued by the relationship with the other attorney, and to kind of develop a good relationship with that person, even though you're going against him. Hey, it has been fantastic to talk to you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all of your insights and your stories. Very interesting, very entertaining. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So long, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for listening to 15 Minutes. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.